The dev stream. Okay.
Jason! Good to see you again.
We're
man.
back!
We're back just before the finals of Gwent Open #1. First one, season 3. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a really cool season. I really like that we have casters for our qualifiers now. And I think we should give a shout out to all the ones that weren't casters today and yesterday, but have been for the qualifiers. They've been doing a really great job, and it's been really cool to see a lot of other faces giving their takes on these matches. It's been really cool to watch them as well, and without having to be there at the time.
Yeah, agreed. We're playing around with the roster, let's say, letting some new faces try out their, take up the casting gavel. And one of the biggest events, of course, you've seen these faces cast previously, and you also seen them in the qualifiers. So I'm really excited to have them as part of the team. And yeah, there's a change coming here.
And we changed a bit the format of the losers bracket and stuff, right? Is that going well from your perspective? Do you think it's
in my
the right
opinion,
decision?
yes. It's all based on the community feedback as always. So we're always switching things up, taking that into account. So yeah, hopefully everybody's happy with it. And I know that if people are not happy, they are reaching out to us, mainly to Vlad. So
not shy.
Yeah,
not shy.
Yeah, totally. Don't be shy.
Any open?
But I think it's added a nice dynamic.
Not any
to
open.
the losers bracket.
Somewhere the death
stream
stream
is
is pretty
there,
boring.
and I really enjoy it. So that's been fun to watch.
Jason, since you're here, does that mean that we will have some important news to share?
We got some good
I
games
think
today,
we'll do two things today. We'll give an early preview into the next balance update, which will be a bit bigger and more substantial than the last one. It's hard to do something big every time, but we wanted to do another big one, especially in preparation for what's coming after this update. And then I think we have something else to talk about for what comes after the next update.
1.25.
But we'll leave that for the end, yeah? So you gotta keep watching.
All right, exactly.
Okay.
Well, you're stuck here because you're waiting for the final, so you're stuck with us. So we can ramble on. Exactly. Like you mentioned, update 8.5 is coming on May 6th, and with it, also a new journey. We'll talk about that at the end, but we will not spoil anything because we want to make it a surprise still. Yep. And what's also coming, new starter decks are coming with this update. So this has been a long process, Jason.
I think we've had a lot of iterations, and I think I ended up having to get involved because I think everyone was afraid to make the starter decks as quote unquote generous as maybe we're making them now. I don't think they're that crazy, but I think everyone's always afraid to be the person that says no, we can give this. That's fine. So definitely the new starter decks. Well, the strategy for the old ones was really, to give you a bit of different aspects of a faction, so that it was easier to kind of take that deck and bring it to the strategy that you wanted after. But honestly, I think it made the starter decks feel a little more confusing and wasn't showcasing, the real synergistic side of Gwent really well.
Right?
So I don't think it worked out quite as well as had envisioned. It had some major downsides. So these will be a lot more synergistic. And I think we also plan to kind of create sort of like reward tracks at some point or something like that will help you take those starter decks into like semi-competitive decks almost, like something a bit much stronger. But that's for later.
That's the plan.
And details will come, but that's kind of the vision that we had. So we built these starter decks in mind with having a clear upgrade path.
Maybe.
Exactly. Nice overview there, Jason.
Cool.
Nice.
Very welcome.
Thank you. 8.5. So, as always, we have everything split into specific topics, let's say. The first topic, and I will introduce it.
My style, yeah? Yes. I didn't give wacky names to the sections this time.
Yeah, this time the names are very tame. Increasing stratagem variety. So, what's up with that?
So one of the things we wanted to attempt with this update was to incentivize players to try out some of the less popular stratagems, to try and increase overall variety. I don't think we fundamentally reworked them for the most part, but we did a pass. So
some of the really bad neutral stratagems getting better.
We'll go through them fairly quickly.
Whoa!
Now poison is
cool.
a unit instead of a random unit. So, if you want to go for that 2 poisons 1 turn in round
it's actually
1,
really big.
That stratagem is now a lot more. Well, it's capable of doing.
Nilfgaard doesn't care that much about that stratagem.
Now.
Being able to poison, like double poison immediately, is
not
huge.
only boosts a unit in your hand by 3, but also gives it 2 armor, so adds a little bit more protection, has a bit more value.
Cool.
I personally think this one was kind of interesting already in certain decks because of the carryover, right? Carryover is king, but this definitely adds a little bit more. Ceremonial Dagger lost 3 bleeding, but gained 3 damage, so it can be used a little bit later in a round without losing so much value, right? Stratagems are rarely something you want to use.
Damage by 3, give it 2 bleeding. So it plays for 5. And kills stuff. It kills 3s immediately, kills 4s the next turn. So this will deal with the Skellige Longship in a turn. Or no, it's 1 armor. 3 damage hits the armor, so it'll take 2 turns to kill the Skellige Longship. Demon Corsair. Yeah, like it just blaps all the 3s. Huh. If there are matchups where this relevantly kills things efficiently, this could definitely be replacing Lampretia. Because it is still just 5 points, right? Like, 2 bleed isn't that much worse than 2 points. You'll get those points pretty quickly. Larva. It kills half a larva. That's not that exciting. Redinian Archer. Yeah, they still get to spend. It's not the worst. Yeah, I don't know. Brockfar Hunter. He kills Brockfar Hunter before it gets to ping again. Instantly proc a Greatsword. It's pretty cool.
Use in your first turns in round 1, so that
I could see this being played now.
Points hidden.
This has gone through a few iterations.
Now
but
it can actually
I think this is a good middle ground.
Removal with the 3 damage, or still get the value from the 2 bleeding if you want to get
exactly.
the 5
Exactly.
Cursed Scroll now lets you actually, I believe, choose the card from your deck, if I understood it properly, and I think that makes it a lot more interesting card. I think some people choose the stratagem to kind of help hand fix and guarantee what they want.
It's weird, because if you use this to tutor golds that you want to play in round 1, you're playing those golds on blue coin. Just like the nature of this being something that you only get on blue coin makes it a lot worse. The Vi stratagem. Is it? I feel like Vi would still rather just have Crystal Skull for Slizzard. Can Unbrick and Lippy? Sure. People already play Crystal Skull from time to time in Lippy. It might make a little more sense. Might be a little easier to justify there. Tutor Mata Cheese. Sure. You're not protecting your Stregobor though. Like, even when you have the TA, it feels like the Stregobor model line never resolves. You give up TA for consistency on blue coin, though. I don't know. I feel like you'd rather have points than this most of the time, but I'm also not someone who ever would have played Cursed Scroll in Lippy. Basically have 3 in euros. I mean, sure, you lose your TA though. Good in Viper, sure. I don't think that matters.
Urn of Shadows now works on an allied unit instead of an allied bronze unit, so it's certainly interesting. I'm not sure everyone's going to want to Urn of Shadows Miruna in round 1, or God knows what other goals.
This is like Maruna, Penitent, Manticore. Committing Maruna round 1 usually feels pretty bad. Committing Manticore is fine. This is definitely easier to justify now. Now it's not just like a very slightly better Mystic Lamp, assuming you draw your Endrega Egg, which is your Harpy Egg, which isn't even a card that you really wanted to play in most of the decks anyway. Redea monsters. That's true. You can get it in round 3 that way. That is kind of cool. Yeah, Redea to get an extra Maruna proc is probably worth it. You are then going to be playing Redea and monsters, which means you don't get double Endrega Larva. You don't get to play Foglet. I don't know. I feel like monsters gives up a lot going singleton. Can proc Goliath 4 times now. Oh, true. True. Doesn't work on Vi or Detlaf. Yeah. I already do that. Just like you can't Marilorn a Ancient Foglet.
Penitent or Manticore, but we'll see. It's definitely a lot
Works
more
on
interesting
Vi.
choice of strategy.
It works on Vi, but Vi would go back
Quite
into your
powerful
deck,
if you
right?
think about implications. We didn't change the Scoia'tael Saber, but we did change the Scoia'tael Neophyte, which as a card has been really underpowered for a long time, mostly because of the stratagem. Exactly. So we said, screw it.
Whoa!
It now has an extra order ability.
Wait, this card's sweet. This card's sweet. I don't know how good it is, but it's sweet. You get 2 2-point bodies, which can be used. They don't cleanly transform each other, right? You want something else to transform as well. Because if you use the first one to transform the other one, you haven't used the order on the other one yet. But if you have, like, damaged elves, like, let's say you have 2 1s in play, you play Neophyte, you're getting 8 for 4. I don't know if that ever happens, but that's cool. Bomber. Yeah, if you have a bomber, you can play this for 6 while getting 2 bodies. Yeah, it only transforms elves. Like, it's an upgrade on your TA. And I mean, elves are pretty bad. If you're trying to play like Redea elves, this might just end up in your deck now. And this is an interesting card to play with. I don't know. It's more interesting than all the elves that just like deal a bit of damage. I'm down for it.
That lets it transform into an Elven Deadeye, which is 2 more points.
Transform itself.
If you trigger order
yeah.
on both, right? It goes from 2 to 3, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not great when it's transforming itself though. Just playing for 5.
Which makes the card
because you can't transform the other.
Mask of Ouroboros will now spawn 2 crows instead of 1, so maybe Skellige will want that. It will discard hand.
It's very dangerous to play for 4s. It's really not, especially not ones that are archetype locked. Draw card, discard card, spawn 2. Ooh, just Scald and a TA. Yeah, this card's really good.
Fixing, I think, was already kind of decent with the extra points from the extra crow. I think it's really worth
played Mask of Ouroboros.
And finally, the Tiger's Eye now gives 5 coins instead of 4.
People played Tiger's Eye.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one personally. I think it was pretty decent stratagem to begin with, but now it's better. So Tiger's Eye, I think, will become much more stable in Syndicate decks than before.
Exactly. As you
5
guys
coins
saw,
ain't no joke.
yeah, like you guys saw on screen, most of the changes that are happening.
Tiger's Eye
like
MK immediately pulls vote in catch.
Red, if something gets cut.
I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind.
The text of the card, so it's easier to spot those out. But yeah, that was a quick overview of the stratagems. Of course, we won't be going through all the changes, but these are some of the ones that we wanted to.
We'll go through at least
highlight.
half today.
Yeah,
I don't completely disagree with it. If you want,
move on to segment 2.
There's like some deck building costs associated with it, and while it can be more than 5 points,
so,
I don't know, I think that's fine.
Cards are a mechanic that I think was really well received by the community and was super interesting for us as well. It's a concept that I think we would definitely want to play with more, and we thought that some of the existing cards could
it's not
use
even a bad
this
thing.
paradigm, both by their flavor to begin with, and to give them maybe a bit more relevance, especially with some things we plan to do in the future with
Plus, there was a lot of questions from players. Are we going to do something about locations, or are we going to do something about maybe additional stratagems in the future? Are we going to try to, take existing mechanics that we introduced with an expansion and come back to it and introduce more cards?
Well,
or maybe
here we are.
Or maybe just take
location.
Exactly.
In this case, we have 3. Let's start with Armory. Armory used to just be boosted a unit by 6.
Whoa! Wait! What? They're just throwing location on other cards now? That's surprising. Interesting. So locations are... Huh. I'm really surprised to see that. I thought that was going to be like evolving cards or scenarios where it was just like the keystone of the expansion and that was all they planned to do with it. I do like locations as a design a lot. I'm kind of glad to see them being fleshed out more. What does this do? So it has resilience like all the others. Deploy, boost an allied unit by 6, order, give 3 armor. For 6p. Oh. It's kind of shit, though. Is there any deck that wants something like this? Yarpin synergy. Yeah. It's not hard to make this play as like a 9, but I don't know. You're working to get like a 9 for 6. I guess 3 of it's potential carryover. 6p packed. Yeah, that's sort of how I see it. Maybe there's a reason to like want locations in the future. Like if this is something that they're gonna flesh out. Or cards like there's still Artifact Matters cards, right? Like the old Nilfgaard card. Squirtle card? They're like boosted by something if you had an artifact in play. If there's like reasons to want artifacts in play, even if those artifacts aren't doing anything. Maybe. I mean, it is a neutral.
Still that, but now it's a location.
Combat Engineer.
Deploy boost by 6.
Yeah,
unless
I think
you use
that's
that order
fair.
on a different unit on a different round, which I think adds a lot of flexibility to
It's
the
a
card.
Hawker or something
I
for
don't think it necessarily
Squirtle.
makes it super high tier because it's still a 6, I believe 6 provision card.
Devotion Eldane. Oh, true.
I think it makes the
Oh,
card a
wait,
lot more
not
appealing than
true.
it did before.
Mhm.
The next one to look at is a Land of 1,000 Fables, which used to just deploy, play special card from your deck. Well, the Land of 1,000 Fables is now a location; it's a place,
Yay.
and
Special from your deck. Transform a special into a random unit of the same provision cost from the same faction. I mean, at least it makes sense that this is an artifact now. Transform a special card in your hand into a random unit of the same provision cost in the same faction. Does AA transform into anything? No, right? Not that you would really ever want to do that. Transform Bricked Coup. Is it Draug? Or Draug and AA the same cost? I don't actually know. That's funny. Now, if you're putting a high provision special into your deck, you probably want to be playing it. It's a funny order. I don't know how often you'll want to use it. Like, transforming bronze specials isn't very good either. There's a lot of junk in bronze pools. You can transform Bricked, Curse of Corruption, Scorch. Yeah. Into... What's a neutral 12 in Scorch's case? The neutral 9's pool any good? I mean, Scorch's 11 now. It's okay-ish with Echo cards. Is it, though? When do you want to transform your Echo card? Like, most of the time you're not going to be getting something all that good. The pools are pretty big. There's a lot of junk in Gwent. You don't have any golds left in deck for Nero. That gets you, what, Regis? Wouldn't you rather just play a bronze? Wait, it's always Regis, right? Because the Owls are pool? Same faction? Same faction as the card. So if it's a neutral card, it gets a neutral. See double Regis decks rising already. Oh, true. You can deterministically get a second Regis. Nine P has only one brick in neutral, and that's Roach, Recursive Corruption. Interesting. I don't know. You have to be in the market to want a special tutor, and then also be in the market to want a special tutor that isn't a special itself. So, like, it's not double boosting your gourd or anything. And then some of your specials need to be situational enough that this order matters. Or you're just doing some complete nonsense, like double Regising, which we will probably build.
And it deploys very similar. Play a special card from your deck.
Yeah, it's a cool bit of text.
Now it has order. Transform a special card in your hand into a random unit of the same position.
I don't think it's super relevant toward display ability, but
exactly.
It's a cool bit of
magic
text.
is going to happen to your hand, I guess, when you enter the land of 1,000 fables. So maybe this kind of lets you, fix a card in your hand that you don't really like. I think it could be interesting for assimilate because I believe that will give you a chance.
Exactly.
Isn't this a no unit card?
And
Is
that's
it?
about it.
Wouldn't you rather just play another
that's what I
good top end
like
special?
because I think it fits it perfectly. And we've just added resilience and location to Small Blood Totem. So, you can get those 8 points in round 1 or 2 and still have the self-damage.
This is a very fitting change. I like it.
Exactly.
I have a feeling most of the time, just like the other locations, it might use the order
throw on
around
resilience,
played in, especially since it still sets up the 2 cultists on the side. But I think it's a really nice change to that card.
Exactly. Totally agree.
It's fit really well. So I'm excited for the new locations.
Me too.
How about you?
Yeah, me too. And it's nice that like you mentioned at the beginning that we're introducing them to adding them to some of the existing cards, which is super cool. But also gives you a lot of different ways to play the card in this case. So yeah, I'm excited for them. It's 3, but really strong, solid 3.
Alrighty then. Next segment. Introduce us.
Improvements to leader abilities. So we're looking into leader abilities.
Well, no. Yes, actually. That's the next segment I got. So, leader abilities are something that we're always looking at. In this case, we're not removing or fundamentally changing any of them, but some of them do deserve love, and some of them that also deserve love won't be touched today with 8.5. So we'll probably have more changes eventually at some point. No promises, no guarantees, but probably this is not the last time we play with leader abilities. So let's get into some examples of some things that we wanted to do. So, pincer maneuver, right? We've added 2 charges now. That makes
cool.
it much more interesting as a Northern Realms leader ability.
Archgriffin! I can tutor my Archgriffin twice!
Draw a card out of your deck twice now. So that's actually kind of playing with the deck drawing spirit of Northern Realms. It's not a full-fledged archetype, but kind of fits some other things that we did. I think like the Griffin Witcher Mentor.
I don't actually know if this is any good.
The next one was really made easier by the fact that we changed the starting deck for.
I don't know what an our deck would want
Invigorate anymore. So it made us feel much more comfortable changing Invigorate. Even though probably the starter deck would have benefited from
kind of similar. Not sure how much this matters, but I like the change. It makes
it
it less bleedable.
5 units in your hand by 1, so you get to choose it, but you get 2 charges. So this lets you commit your hand buff, potentially buffing the same units twice. It stops punishing you for having anything that's not a unit in your hand finally, right? Because it just invigorate on a full hand.
It's not good enough on like Oglays or Skags. There's still no real payoff for it, right?
Too bad, too sad. It also, if you spend all invigorated units in the first round, then you lose all that
almost patch time hype.
Hey, Taranga, thanks for the prime. Thanks for the 8 months.
It adds a lot of dynamic to the leader ability, and I think it might actually be potentially viable. We'll have to see.
Agreed. Really cool change.
In a similar fashion, Reckless
same unit
Flurry
twice.
has been changed
only
from
twice.
8 damage randomly to 3, and it's now 3 charges instead of only a one-time deal. So and overall, it's
whoa, wait. In Dragolarva, no. No. How am I ever gonna play in Dragolarva again? This is brutal. It's so granular, too. Like, they can just use one in round 1. I never have a good window to play Larva against Reckless Flurry. Why is Rage of the Sea still a thing after the Flurry change? Yeah. Being brutal or ridiculous. It's like when they made the Evolving Herald when I went through armor. Brutal for Dragolarva. But at least that didn't happen in round 1. Just play Lamp and hope for the best. Oh man, if I'm on blue coin too, I'm just losing on even. That's scary. I mean, it might also somehow not be good. It's so granular. There's no way it's not good. I guess Nilfgaard... Skellige could just not have a deck without Blaze of Glory, I guess, but... You play this for the Matic deck, right? Know the lists already, like, sometimes play Reckless Flurry as the Matic deck? it just does so much. I like the design of it way more than I like the current design. Like, I do like multi-charge leaders more than one-shots. But this looks really strong.
But again, that flexibility of charges. Yeah, do I use this in round one?
My
round two?
Dragolarvas!
I think Reckless Flurry will actually be something people should experiment with, and we might see it enter, popularity a bit more than it has for a very long time.
Agreed. A lot of flexibility, like you said. I really like this change.
Yeah. Moorhan Vortis got a power buff from 6 to 7. Again, trying to make some of the other Nilfgaard leaders a bit more tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Lockdown, provision 13 from 14. Probably still not enough to make the new lockdown quite
At least he acknowledges
choice.
it.
But, we said in the past that we were kind of okay with lockdown being away from the meta for a long time, and maybe this is like a micro step towards allowing the new lockdown to actually have its place.
Exactly.
So whether we'll do more, I can't
No new
guarantee,
cards
but,
dispatch. They said it was going to be the next season after.
Exactly. Next up.
Imperial formation, just like before, except now, whenever you play a soldier, give it 1 armor for each adjacent soldier. So actually,
that's a cool passive. This ability does a lot now. It's got like 3 effects. I don't know how much I like the idea of just like stapling on more text to try to make leaders good, but what is this doing for soldiers? Crossbowman synergy? Kind of? Makes it a little harder to remove the armor from the crossbowman. It doesn't... You can't, like, re-armor your crossbowman with it, though. Helps Enforcer's stick. Yeah, that's true. It's good with engines. The only soldier that explicitly cares about armor is crossbowman, right? Everything else would just be, it's keeping your soldiers alive. I like passive leaders. I do like it. I don't dislike it. I'm just questioning a third ability. Just because this leader ability started out as 4 charges, order boost an allied unit by 2, and then they stapled on once all charges are used up, move a soldier from deck to the top, and now they're stapling on whenever you play a soldier, give it 1 armor for each adjacent. What's next when this isn't enough? They add another ability here. They're gonna run out of space.
At some point when you play soldiers, you might automatically gain 2 armor. This, again, it's armor, it's not points, but armor ain't no joke either, yeah? It protects from a lot of things, so maybe Imperial Formation will actually re-enter the meta in a more interesting way than it did before. It's very nuanced.
Used to be the reveal leader? Yeah, if you go far enough back.
Pushing than it was in the past, where it was maybe a bit generally utilitarian? No. Utility, I don't know, okay.
Used as a utility, right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's read the rest of the card back.
No longer gains 4 coins, but now has 2 charges.
Mm-hmm.
So you can.
I like that. I like that a lot. So it's a leader that just gives you access to spenders. You never want to save both charges, though. Isn't this worse? It's more granular, but isn't it worse? Because you don't want 2 Sea Jackals in round 3, but a Sea Jackal and 4 coins might be better. Don't need to run trash 4P spenders. They're not bad, though. I don't know. Like, you kind of just want to play Sea Jackals. Like, I'm more happy to put Sea Jackals in my deck than pretty much any other 4P card. If you're trying to do, like, unitless stuff, maybe? You could not play units and then, like, leader out a Sea Jackal in 2 rounds to get your spender. Sea Jackal and 4 coins was way too weird. Sure. Yeah, I mean, the leader... I like the design of this more. I just think it's weaker. And on a leader that was already kind of weak. I don't know. There is value in granularity. Maybe that's enough. just don't really see it seeing play. No over profiting. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we saw the invigorate change. It's kind of like how Haunt streamlined the way you play Death Wishes. Yeah, maybe. It does probably fill more of a role than the previous Pirates Cove did. I guess I'm just looking at this as I look at like other leaders, where since I don't want to use both charges in round 3, I'm like sort of getting half right because I've got to use one of the charges earlier. It's just like harder to maneuver the game to where that's relevant. But maybe there's a Syndicate deck that just really cares about having guaranteed access to a Sea Jackal in multiple rounds. I don't know.
Add a little Sea Jackal.
I don't know what that would be
in two different rounds if you want, which I think makes it a much more standalone and a much more interesting leader ability. Yeah, and all the other leader abilities gain coins. This one gives you points and spenders. It's really a spending leader ability. I think it's nice to have that distinction. And Inspired Zeal is back, and now to boosting 2. I believe it was doing it at some point. Anyways, it boosts by 2 instead.
This is safe nowadays,
it
right?
3 charges. It's a minor little buff, but again, 3 points.
I think this is safe nowadays.
Nice.
8-0.
Yeah.
8-0.
Agreed. I really like the changes here, especially that we're seeing more charges, and then
didn't they nerf the deck by like
giving
12 provisions back when they killed DJ
so you
Foltus?
choose when you want to use it, and you can play around with. Like, you can spend everything in one round, or you can leave something, use it in the next round.
It was just one of the many nerfs that they did.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just because it'll for sure be noticed by people. We haven't forgotten about Stockpile. It's just what we want to do for Stockpile, we ain't ready for yet. We probably won't be ready for it in the next update, but there are interesting things we want to do with Stockpile.
Yeah, there's some cool
They have been saying that for years. When is Stockpile getting an adjustment?
coming,
Oh
but yeah,
no.
it's still far along on the way, let's say.
Yeah, look at that. We have plans in the long term.
All right.
Alrighty then.
Next step. Take a breather because we're moving on to Balance Pass on recently released leader-inspired cards. So
Yeah,
Didn't he say not in 2 months?
Cards because they're not leaders, right? They're just gold cards.
they're leader-inspired cards.
I mean, we didn't want to play and balance them too much. Only a few weeks after they were released, but now, they've been in the meta for quite a while, at least a month and a half by the time we were making these decisions. And so it's time to do a little pass. I'm not saying this will be a huge shift, but I think there are changes that we want to do. For example, Detlef will have now an initial Blood Moon duration of 1 to 2, small buff, and Unseen Elder will go from power of 5 to 6. Makes Unseen Elder much harder to deal with, right? Can't Nature's Rebuke it anymore, and I think that's a significant change. Actually, it's probably the bigger.
That's just like
and it doesn't
immediately plays for full value. Like you're getting 12 for 12 on the play.
Right now, the kind of anti-synergies between these two boys
on your 2-point return engine.
Exactly.
Which doesn't want you to destroy bleeding units, and I think we're kind of fine with that for now. Next, we have Full Test, whose power went down from 7 to 6, and whose provisions also increased, I guess, from 12 to 11. I think when provisions go down, we should say the increase, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. It's a drummer now. It's a drummer. It does everything. Wait, this is the full combo. This is a 3-point return engine for 11 provisions that deploys for 9. 10. It's a 4-point return engine. A 5-point return engine in Devotion. Wait, this is insane. This is a Vicegoda. Carryover for Commando? If you want to do Commandos, sure. I'm not even thinking about it with Commandos. Just done banners. You don't even need to build a deck around this. It's limited by row? Sure. You'll eventually row cap. I thought, like... So, the current full test has problems, but it's not, like, that far from being playable with, like, Dunbanners. I don't know if, like, full test Commandos currently makes any sense, but, like, full test Dunbanners just as, like, a package in some other NR deck wouldn't be too bad if there was other stuff to do in NR. If there was just, like, an NR boosty, enginey, or swarmy deck, it would be fine. This is really significant. Like, the old, right after Foltest came out, the Tailbot deck that played Foltest, Meave, Devotion. This is huge for that. Just, like, Shield Wall Foltest now? God, you don't need leader charges to pull the Dunbanners on the Foltest turn. Yeah, just go, like, Devotion and our Foltest Shield Wall. That's huge for Shield Wall, right? This is, like, exactly what that kind of deck wants. Just a big, scary, point-slammy engine. Like, compare this to... compare this to War Elephant. Christ. Damn, like, I don't know, maybe with, like, Foltest fueling itself, Commandos actually wants to play Foltest. Whereas it was kind of questionable in the deck before. Maybe Foltest is just on deploy, not needing you to, like, waste a leader charge to get your boost. Huh. Temerian King is leading the Kidweni Cavalry, while the Ghost of the Kidweni General leads the Blue Stripes into the fray. Because they changed sides. They parlayed in the Afterlife, and they realized that they had more in common than they had different. So now they're trying to lead the others' armies to the correct conclusions.
And in consequence, now has a nice little passive engine that's not based off the devotion.
Hey, Vigrits, thanks for the tier 1.
So
welcome,
actually,
welcome.
he self-generates this if you don't have a boost that turn, which I think is nice.
Yeah,
sets up more protection for him. Again, I don't think it'll necessarily make him OP meta.
Devotion is a little rebel. I don't think so.
Stuff, but that's not what
I don't think so. I think if you're playing Shield Wall and you just want to be Devotion for like Varaxis and Karak Marine anyway, this is just a point per turn, right?
Is Meave,
like that's significant.
Meave, that I think hasn't been as successful as we'd hope. Now
sure.
One is the counter now actually resets after she explodes, so she can explode more than once.
So you can play it early to try to greed out multiple boosts. You still get blown out by like Heat Wave. The funny thing, like the earlier you play this, the more likely it is your opponent has the answer. Does this solve any of the problems with this card? I guess whenever this unit receives a boost, gain a bonus. So it's harder to like damage it. How often does your Meave get damaged though? I feel like the way it gets answered is by something harder. It just makes the payoff bigger. But does it really? If you want the payoff to be bigger, you have to play into your opponent being able to answer it more. Because like you're playing it earlier, your opponent has more cards in hand that have potential to answer it. Isn't the same for full test? Full test gets value immediately. When you play full test, you're pulling out one of your Dunbanners. You get the 6-point body from him, but you also get like the 1-point boost, the copy of Dunbanner that's coming out of your deck. When you play Meave and you boost up Meave, and your Meave gets heat waved, you lose your Meave and the point that you spent boosting the Meave. You play an engine overload. Hope they only have one heat wave. Maybe. I mean, like, locks are good against it. Stuff like Philippa's good against it. You've indirectly buffed since you get more Dunbanners from full test. Maybe. Joining the leaders is around 1 cards. Yeah, maybe. I guess, like, Meave into Crystal Skull is pretty sick. At least if you know your opponent doesn't have Heat Wave or Invo. There's not a whole lot that deals with that. That's still like 10 provisions on your round 1 card. Just feels kind of expensive. Drawing him round 1 was the main problem for Devotion full test. Devotion full test didn't even play Veta. Full test could be a round 3 card in that deck, no problem. You'd rather have a TA Bellahun than this? That might be true, yeah. Bellahun's also cheaper. It's harder to build a deck with Bellahun? Is that even true? I don't know. Lock's not the problem, Heatwave is. Heatwave and Invo are bigger problems, yeah. Lock is... I wouldn't say Lock isn't the problem. Like, you're pretty mildly trading up points with a Lock. With a 7-point body.
Exactly.
Which I think ups her ceiling, makes her a little bit more sexy. And in addition, whenever she is boosted, she will gain 1 armor. Now,
exactly.
The interesting thing about that is you can't so easily remove her, inspired as before. It requires 2 damage at least, instead of just 1, potentially 1. But also the way that we like this is, even if you're trading back and forth, right? You're pinging off that 1 boost, he's putting back the 1 boost.
I feel like that never happened.
Because of that armor, even if they're able to do the 2 damage...
Am I the only one that had that experience? Where just like, every time my opponent damaged Meave, it meant Meave was going to resolve.
So,
yeah.
I think it's definitely an interesting change for me, especially I think the reset the counter.
Yeah, people were kind of petitioning for Meave to become stronger. Like you said,
she's awesome, right?
Yeah,
Everyone
she's
knows.
awesome
I've tried it a few
character, and
times.
People wanted her card to be a little bit better, so I think she's more.
When it worked, it was really good.
To be honest,
but I feel like the way it didn't work
Emir,
wasn't when my opponent dealt damage to it.
I think one of the problems with Emir was that is the random nature of what he was seizing. So
unless they were like Blaze of Glorying it, but
that's a 1-power enemy unit with.
It's still gonna die to Blaze of Glory.
The difference here is that you don't need devotion for this, right? You'll get 1 order use guarantee, and the devotion.
Wait. So the devotion is just to make it an engine. You always get to use the order, and it's never going to be stealing the wrong thing or like stealing something when you don't want to steal something. I like making the season order. I didn't want to like recommend that as a thing because I thought it might make the card too complicated, but this does look like it'll play a lot better. Also means if your opponent has a bunch of spying things, you can like more reliably damage one of their spying units and specifically steal that one, rather than just hoping Emir rolls on the right one. The soft nerf, it's less tempo? It has zeal. It's just an upgrade, right? If you pass it, won't trigger. Oh, sure. Yeah, that comes up. I don't know. Is that more relevant than being able to target? I feel like in most games I had Emir, I was still stealing every spy they had. Every spy at 1 they had by the end of the game. As long as my Emir lived. Target is very, very rarely relevant. Really? I don't know, I feel like there have been times where like one of my opponent's engines had spying. I had enforcers to damage it down. I had like an Emir 33% to yoink the engine. Oh, Cow Carcass too, yeah. Yeah, or like sometimes I don't want to yoink the informant yet because I want to be queuing it. Cow Carcass. I mean, I don't know. I like Rat Tosser. I don't know. Change the fact that Emir just dies. Yeah. It doesn't really change that at all. Defender stops this? That's true. Defender stops a lot of things. It's so rare you play Emir into Enforcer sticking. Yellow's hand on his slime pockets for the AQ. Would have won if he didn't draw 3/4 crimes. Yeah, I don't know what he had left to deck. Maybe. Set up for the guaranteed seize anyway by good sequencing. I mean, it requires you to have the pings, right? I don't know. While I agree with you that it's probably not a significant buff, I don't know if I'd call it a nerf. Like, will this make decks that didn't previously... Does this make Emir decks more of a consideration? I don't think so, but... I think the trade-offs are slightly more towards it being a buff than a nerf. I guess that said, you've played the deck a lot more than I have.
Now lets you, essentially.
I did miss that it
right. So
it wasn't triggering
it
on
works
passes.
very similar with
that is
Devotion
big.
as it did before, but it's kind of like a buff for when you're not running Devotion Emir. At the same time, it's also a general buff to the card because you get to choose, and I think that's substantial actually.
Yeah, and we added Zeal to him. Just to, I don't know if you said that.
Oh yes, did I skip that? Yes, he has Zeal, so he'll be able to do it immediately.
Awesome.
Horson Jr. again, not the biggest.
I forgot this card had a devotion
the
ability.
biggest success.
Also, holy shit. Damage an enemy unit instead. Holy shit. This card is no longer miserable to put in the deck. This card was like balanced by it being miserable. It has insanity now just by default. Oh. This is probably the biggest. The Faultless buff is big. I don't know. This is. Yeah, I don't know. This is also really big. It's busted now. I mean. It's 6 damage on a body. With other upside. Oh god. It's a spender too. It can't even waste damage. Isn't this... How is this not insane? I guess it's only insane in Devotion, which makes it less insane, but... This is the biggest reason to go Devotion? Is it a bigger reason to go Devotion than Ulrich? It's insane, it says on the card. True. True. I think Carlo, aka Cleaver, was the only other gold card that can slap people for a lot, but he's still required to have a full hand. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, like, it's hard to efficiently deal 6 damage. Like, to deal 6 damage and then have something left over. Like, think how good Squirtle is. This is like a Squirtle that can be played in early rounds without losing value. Has some extra upside with this fee, which is relevant. Like, not only does it mean you might not have to play other spenders in your hand if you need to spend coins, but there's times you like knock out Andregalarvas, you kill Arrakis drones. There are some 3-power engines in the game, like if you kill archers or revenants. Yeah, kill Deadeyes to make stuff like Ysengrim, Yavin, Vernacial worse. There's a lot of times where this fee isn't just 3 points, it's adding some utility. And sure, it's like 2 more probs than Squirtle, but does that matter? Oh, this is so good. Like, not only does this not brick ever anymore, but you don't have to use the 6 damage on a boosted unit. If your opponent has an engine that isn't boosted, you can still just kill it with this. You're not looking for something boosted to just throw the damage on. If you want to kill an on-crate longship, you can kill an on-crate longship. It's not just about not bricking. It's about being able to kill what you want to kill. If you're Devotion, yes. When it's not Devotion, it's basically the same card. I don't think the Insanity matters that much. But now it has like a real reason to go Devotion.
Yeah, I think in terms of the player base, but so we're doing a few little changes to him. Now his Devotion, instead of gaining Insanity, will damage an enemy unit instead. So you won't have to target a Boosty Boy, which I think makes it a significantly better card.
Yeah,
right?
the Crimes deck probably doesn't want to go
That
Devotion.
6 damage was good, but if you're playing against, let's say, maybe Skellige, which doesn't have Boosty Boys all the time, that's awkward. He still has his fee 3, right? And yeah, I think Corson Jr. will
But Syndicate's a faction
really
that's
nice
pretty
little
easy to
card.
incidentally go Devotion for a lot of archetypes.
And next up, we have Krok on Crate, who now has an additional ability. So he works exactly like before, right? The 2 armor to 3 pirates and ships. Now he has also order damage unit
Sick.
by 1, cool down 2. So a little bit stronger. I think Krok was,
Does not
was
have Zeal.
borderline pretty.
But I guess that's fine. It does the thing on deploy, and then next turn it gets the damage units. People already kind of want to kill Croc. Can hit Queen's Guards. That is cool, yeah. Shippy OP now. When Croc lives, there's matchups where he takes over the game. Now, more so. I don't know if this is the problem that you want to solve with Pirates. Like, Croc in the Pirates deck was already pretty good. Like, I don't think I'd ever consider cutting Croc. It's just there's not a Pirates deck. I don't know if this change really influences that. Like, if the pirate cards were better, Croc would see play. I don't know if you needed to make Croc better, or if the approach to make pirates good is to make Croc better. That said, I don't know, I'm not complaining. I like my pirate
Good.
decks.
Pretty good,
Yeah.
exactly. And
So
I think this is just like a small push to make him even
Yeah, it's just a small push to make him really viable. And finally, more of a minor change. I know that probably from the community, you guys are a bit more concerned about the swinging nature of ice in general. So
Okay.
what we've done for this
Okay.
update is we decided to change his Bloodthirst from 2-3 to make it a bit
I mean,
harder for Skellige to reliably combo him
sure.
off.
This is a
I mean,
sub
if you
game
look
that
at
is now a
specific
little harder to win for
qualifiers where ice
SK.
decks were some of the worst performing decks in the whole qualifier. I believe that was the case. Yeah, the recent
Yeah.
ones. You know, we're not so worried about ice because we believe if you play really well in your best 2 out of 3 format and you play in a smart way,
Yeah,
usually it's pretty telegraphable. That he is
can
kind of
expect that, right?
reliably,
I don't know.
reliably beatable if you're smart. And we kind of like how he feels when he does work. If you're having fun with it, like we want wow moments to be possible in Gwent. Yeah, we don't always want just ping ponging of little boosts and little damages. We want like moments to be possible where you're like,
when you do something crazy, right? Exactly.
I know it's a bit simple version of a crazy because it's telegraphed like crazy, but still,
You sometimes want a big point swing, right? You want a nice
Kill a
finisher.
card and nerf. It's big
yeah.
CPR.
So
Yeah, it just
for
depends
now,
what you
we
think the
decided
reason
just
to change
simply
ice is. Like, if
nerf
you
the
think
Bloodthirst from 2 to 3.
Blaze of Glory is a little too good and you just want to do a power
So
level
those are
nerf,
kind
I
of
think
the-
that's
the
totally
chunky,
fine.
meaty segments that we split things into. But
I feel like that's not
let's
normally
talk
the
about
complaint with
highlights,
SK.
those are specifically highlights for each faction.
It's just like specifically the
and
gameplay
changes,
pattern
that
around
come
like this
required.
big swing
And I
meter
think we
combo
should start with monsters,
is
right?
what's not
What's
desired,
the kind
and this
of-
doesn't change that much.
The
Granted, I like
general
this more
idea
than
behind the changes here.
So,
like-
these are
like
not
a
all the
provision change
changes,
would have
they're
been.
just some of the ones I think I personally found a bit more interesting. Arcaspore is now power 2 to 4. Deathwish, summon all copies of this unit from your deck to this row. Wait, you did that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a nerf that like makes
actually, we wanted to
the sub
bring
game of
Foglets
not
and
giving your
Ancient
opponent
Foglets back
the
to
extra
way the
deploy
archetype
value on
was
ice a little
before.
easier to win.
So now Foglets will have Deathwish spawn Fog on the opposite row for 3 turns because Foglets need Fog. to survive.
Exactly.
No. On death, they just
Is that a 10 when it dies? Now, fog loses value on a billion things. That's pretty pushed. I guess it would be kind of garbage at 2 turns. So, yeah, I mean, this is cool. This is cool. It's like kind of a TA target too. It's a 4 provision card that you kind of don't mind playing. I guess if you TA it, you're or no shadows it, I guess is what it's called. You then will have a harder time getting value on the actual Death Wish. Because it's opposite row. Cool change.
spew out a huge cloud of fog.
Replace stiffening, Arcus Sport.
And ancient foglets are being reworked because I don't think they've ever been very.
Veil deploy boost self by total duration of row effects on the opposite side. Whenever you apply a row effect, boost self by its duration. Whoa. Opposite side is not opposite row, right? This is the opponent's whole board. So Ardgeth buffs this by 6. Huh. There's finally like a reason to apply Frost. If you play this and then use White Frost, this immediately goes to 6. Not only that, but when you deploy your second one, it's at 5. You don't even lose a ton of value by trying to protect the first one. That said, it won't grow much, right? Huh. Yeah, it's not like Fallen Knight that'll like keep getting bigger. You're only going to apply so many row effects. This will grow to what, like maybe 12 to 14? In a long enough round? Yeah, Consuming Foglet does give this +3 as well. Huh. +1. Oh, +1 on Matic. True. Then brick your hand is technically no you to monster this card. Just Frost over and over again as last say. True. Oh, whoa, yeah, +5 on Blood Moon. Wait, this card's sweet. I like this a lot. This is finally a reason to want to do Frost stuff. One of the biggest criticisms that I've had. Why is this not a Wild Hunt card? with Master Mirror, when they made the Frost archetype and tried to push it was just there wasn't a payoff for it. There was no reason to apply Frost more than once per game to pull Winter Queen. This bronze sort of does that. This does make you want to apply a lot of throw effects. Now, whether it'll be Frost particularly that does it, or like some kind of a mix. It'll probably be some kind of a mix, right? It's clunky for 6p. I mean, yeah, it's an engine. Stuff like Fallen Knight is also clunky. What matters is the ceiling. You would play this with White Frost as your leader. Or not even. If you just like Crimson Curse and then deploy this, it deploys as an 8. Wait. This isn't even hard to... I mean, 8 for 6 on deploy, and then later on it gets more. Obviously, you're not doing this with only Crimson Curse in your deck, but I'm saying you don't even need to have White Frost as your leader to have this come down as value on deploy. You have to have a lot of weather. Yeah, of course, of course. Vampire deck is reach. I know, it gets big fast. Like, if you play this and then play Ardgeth, it's a 12. Wait, a 10. Math. And you're gonna have more than that. Yeah, stuff like Foglet too. Yeah, I don't know. I could see it. I could see it.
Very popular, successful for a very long time. From a power
You know,
1 to 4.
yeah, maybe.
4 to 6.
The deck already plays Blood Moon.
Fail. And their ability is now boost self by the total duration on deploy of row effects on the opposite side. I believe that's both rows, yeah? It's opposite side, not opposite row.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever you apply a row effect, boost self by its duration. So now we actually have like another engine that benefits.
I really want to forget about Vader Maker.
Foglet Spawning Fog or Wild Hunt Navigator or whatever other weather generator you have in monsters. So they'll get points on it, I think. And also will continue to grow if you keep spawning weather. So we'll see if it really supports well the weather archetype in monsters. But to kind of top it all off, my boy Aridin, the guy who makes Frost deal 2 damage instead, 1 more damage per turn, so 3 instead of 2, has now a power from 5 to 6. So very similar to another change we did earlier. It is now out of, let's say, simple Nature's Rebuke removal range, which I think
this is kind of significant, honestly.
The Wild Hunt package needed him to be a bit more sticky.
Makes it a little easier for him to have dominance too.
So that's monsters. Right. That's some of the highlights I wanted to showcase.
Deploys for good value.
How do you feel about this? Do you like weather monsters?
I like weather
monsters.
True. Play really a lot of, and whenever I just see more tools for it, I'm always excited. So yeah, totally. This makes me super excited for it. Next up, we have NR, and I think we should.
Like, Aridin's not that far away from being techable in Gurney. This is like a value gold
for Northern Realms overall coming in the future.
Kind of referencing Pile from earlier.
Exactly. But we have only one thing that we wanted to highlight
today. They made Horson not have that condition on Devotion. That was a change right before Ancient Foglet.
I think the charges as a mechanic and everything is fine on a smaller scale or on a niche scale within Northern Realms, but I think we aren't super happy with how it all works together. In Northern Realm as a whole, like as an archetype, we don't think it works out very well, and you know, it involves the siege archetype in many ways as well, and I think it all deserves a very substantial pass on it to make it more viable, and it's definitely something that we have a lot of really interesting ideas for, and we definitely want to.
I'm a little worried about it, yeah.
It's just with this update, there's already a lot happening.
I don't know. There's only
the update, there'll be
3 factions that can take advantage of it.
Probably when you'll see it, no guarantees.
Just don't go tall in round 1.
I get accused of promising things when I try not to, but probably an update after that. So 2 updates from now. Something like that. You might see us do another pass. Now, for now, there is one card that I find quite humorous, and that's the poor beeping infantry. Has been reworked. Now has power from 1 to 3 and deploy, spawn left flanking infantry
one power
and right
each.
flanking infantry on both sides of this unit. And I believe that they wanted to put
it's a cool way to go wide in that arc.
Triptych arts into that because for flanking infantries used to be
Shroud might come back.
And with an added bonded of boost self blank.
It is really good with Shroud.
So it is now cool.
Yeah, and it will excite the community, I can tell you, because there's always someone asking about triptychs to come back. There is always.
I mean, it's worse than
2 people saying,
Caravan was, but
nice to have them back again.
And you know what? It's generating 3 bodies in 1 turn, which for a Meve engine that keeps hopefully potentially triggering regularly.
I guess not significantly worse.
That's nothing to scoff at.
Right,
I think we're going to see them out. Poor
5 into 8 instead of 6 into 9.
Let's not put it together.
All right.
I'm trying to hold back my swearing, but
it was already on screen.
It's 3 bodies,
screen, but people have to read it for themselves.
And the bonded is not irrelevant.
I have to get out of the habit of swearing so much. Okay.
Next up, Scoia'tael. Also, one change here to highlight.
Power, I'm pretty sure it's 1.
Not getting too many changes this update. We feel like it's in a semi-decent place. There'll be a few other minor changes which will probably help it out. I think it's mostly buffs that they're getting to things like Great Oak and Cat Witchers, but you'll see that in the patch notes. One card was kind of interesting to me is Munro Bruis.
Yeah.
Now instead of deploy,
So this solves one of the problems with the card of like what happens if your opponent just kills the Rowdies after you play Zoltan's Company and Zoltan Warrior. There's not a good way to get Rowdy Dwarves. This lets the ones that spawn 1 Rowdy Dwarf enable the Munro. As well as you can just like use half of your Munro. So if you go like Dwarven Chariot, play Munro, next turn play Dwarven Chariot, use your Munro's second charge, you can split it up that way rather than letting your opponent see 2 dwarf bodies like, okay, he can Munro me. I need to kill these dwarf bodies now. You force them to answer a dwarf body every time you make a dwarf body, or a rowdy dwarf every time you make a rowdy dwarf. That said, Dwarven Berserker is really bad in the meta. It's good against Arrakis. It's really good against Arrakis, and bad against practically everything else. There's so much random armor and shields. I don't know if reliability was the only problem that this has. I don't know. I'll probably try it. It definitely makes Dwarven Chariot a more interesting card, specifically.
Transform two allied.
There's a bunch of synergy there.
It's now Zeal Order, charge 2, so you can actually choose what you transform, and I think that's a really nice change for this card.
It's an awesome change because I've always, when playing this deck, like I've always run into a place where I want
transforming
to play
late can enable Brewer on the boost.
Yeah, Rowdy Dwarves.
It makes them a lot less awkward, right?
Yeah, and I want to set up for it differently, but you know I need the time.
Hey, Vickers, thanks for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. B Death Kill, license to draw, PB Lead, Black Dog, Entry, Nautical Energy. Oops, I can't type. Welcome everybody.
Makes total sense, and also Zeal. So if you want to do right
away,
away, go for it.
Yeah. I think it's a really good change.
Yeah, once again, we're talking about this, this utility, agility, let's say, that you can choose where you want to do things.
One more. Yeah, half used
so
one.
I think that was one that I found quite fun.
Yeah, it's a good change. I don't know.
So that's, I think, the only one I wanted to
I don't know.
Nice. So we are moving.
Being able to split it up is cool. Like, you can go like Defender, transform the one from Defender, and then play like Zoltan's Company and transform one of the ones of Zoltan's Company. Where before you would have had to go Munro or Defender and then Zoltan's Company and then Munro to transform both. Which is a little more vulnerable to... I don't know, I guess not a whole lot. But it lets you get down half the Munro a turn faster.
Changes that we wanted to highlight.
Right. So there's 3 changes I wanted to talk about. One is Coral, who's getting a buff from 5 to 6 power. Zeal, order, draw a card, then discard a card.
Oh, Vic Ortiz. Okay.
Damage a random enemy
My bad.
by 2. I feel like Coral's like the next Phoenix in a way. No? It's one that's changed so many times since we've launched it. I think this is just bringing it back to, whenever you discard any card, I think it's a lot safer to have this ability than we did in the past, where discard packages were a lot stronger and there's a lot better discard, mechanics.
Miracle Brand is back. Hold up. Can I arrow keys while it's paused?
And it's a lot safer to have this ability.
Draw card, discard a card. Maybe discard a card. Damage a random enemy unit by 2. So this stacks with Skirmisher. Whereas the old Coral, you had to discard specials. Now you can be discarding the things that you want to be discarding, to like get extra value while going off with Coral. So this game needed more cards. I mean, this is cool. I don't know. It kind of deploys as an 8 for 8. The damage is random, but deploys as an 8 for 8 sort of must answer if you play a Coral, or if you play a Baron later. It's a bunch of points. You can combo it with the newly buffed TA as well in round 1. 8 provisions, you don't mind playing this in round 1. You can Redea for the new TA. Oh, we're definitely making Miracle Brand.
Than we did in the past, where discard packages were a lot stronger and there's a lot better discard, mechanic as a whole. And with her now being able to, do that 2 damage whenever any card is discarded, because I believe it is relegated to spells, right?
Sucked at Miracle Brand. The deck was just bad. I'm sorry.
Plus the extra 1 power buff. I think Coral might actually be.
I'll try to do better.
And if you look at maybe the new Mask of Ouroboros, which will work really nice with Coral as well.
The new TA. It makes 2 crows instead of 1 now.
Into the meta and become a bit more popular.
Yeah, it's good you mentioned Mask. You see a nice synergy happening there. So cool. Next up, Dire Bear. Yay!
Such a clunky boy. Not super common right now. So we wanted to give him a little bit of an edge.
What? Okay.
Add Berserk 7. We added Berserk 7, which is, I think one of the highest Berserks we have, if not the highest. This bear gets mad easy. You poke him, now it affects only the opposite row, so you lose the downside of it preventing you from having your side boosted. Considering Skellige is not the most boosty of boys, it's maybe
kind of
super
don't have
relevant,
enough
but maybe on a deck
targets.
with like druids.
Yeah, that might be a problem.
They're engines that are buffing
We'll
themselves.
cross that
and
bridge
playing
when we
off
get to
the
it,
card.
though.
Now the dire bear actually won't anti-synergize with them if you can just tap him. Yo, leave your neighbors alone. Focus the rage on the. It's like, you know what? It's like you walk up to the dire bear and you you poke it, and it turns to look who poked it, and you're like, over there.
Yeah. Go get that guy.
They're the ones who poked you, but they're all the way over there. No, trust me, they ran really fast. It's them over there. You just gotta poke them and then focus all his rage.
His rage there.
So
channel the rage at the proper target.
And the last change I think worth just talking about really quick is armor up. I think anytime a 5 provision card becomes a 4 provision card and that's usually a pretty massive buff.
Big fan. I had high hopes for the armor up Bear Witcher mentor archetype for Skellige after Way of the Witchy. This is a significant buff. I like this card a lot. Definitely gonna be playing some armor up SK.
I thought armor up was pretty playable.
What was the buff?
Not
4P.
Top tier amazingness, but pretty playable at 5 provisions. Simply because it was great for cards like Arnagad, and the Bear Witcher mentors, I believe, and all that.
It just makes the package so much cheaper, so much easier to
4 provisions
put in the deck.
It's a very, very interesting change for me personally.
If your opponent's ice, even easier.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Hey, Uncle Salty Peppers, thanks for the prime. Thanks for the year.
Maybe I need to revisit.
Welcome back.
This card.
Exactly.
Maybe there's something I can make work. Between the dire bear and the corals and all this stuff. Maybe there's some fun experiments that we could do. And I think that's the kind of spirit of what we like to do with our balance updates. When we have more time to do something a bit bigger.
Cool. So that's Skellige. We have 2 more. Nilfgaard and Syndicate.
Alrighty then. First one. Ooh.
Masquerade Ball.
No longer works when you play aristocrats on the other side of the board.
Yep.
Oh, that's the change.
Pretty.
That's what you mean. That's what chat means. Okay, so it doesn't work with Roderick or Joachim anymore. You know what? I like it. I've been saying on stream a bunch about rebalancing scenarios around only being procced by bronzes. This is not quite doing that, but it does solve the immediate problem of Joachim Ku being a little bit too good and being able to pair that with any other card that is arguably too good. The most interesting use for scenarios in my mind is when they're being paired with bronzes as an incentive to want to play your bronzes into rounds where points matter, rather than your bronzes just being filler cards. While Masquerade Ball just kind of slots a little too well into gold combos, rather than being something that you're making sacrifices to play into a round. You're just playing all the cards you want to be playing anyway. Hey, Solo, thanks for gifting the tier 1 sub to Zaz. Welcome back. Oh, Shylard's time to shine. Maybe we'll start playing Thirsty Dames again. There was a period of a while where Thirsty Dames were in every Nilfgaard deck with Ball.
Only change to this card as far as I can tell, unless I missed something.
Yeah, that's the change.
I mean, no more Joachim into, triggering your entire ball in one shot. I think Ball needed to be hit like this. It's just been too big. I think the scenario that's maybe that in Haunt at this point, but the scenario that's been there for the longest time has been too much of a staple in Nilfgaard. And Joachim is such a good card to begin, especially with Ku. To add the Masquerade Ball interaction on top of that.
Yeah, with Feign Death, Hadriano passing.
Is it Roderick?
Yeah. Well, with Feign Death, there's a lot you can do. There's Verno, too.
I'm going to get crucified for getting that wrong. If I get
hey,
we're a bit too much.
Thanks for the bit.
Next up, Damien.
But at the same time, we're trying to make the other Nilfgaard stuff a bit more viable, right? I think Assimilate.
Yeah, my idea was more just an overall change to scenarios balancing entirely, but it's a bigger commitment.
Similar to Coral. I mean,
it's a bit weird that only Ball has a different proc condition.
A bit harder to remove.
Oh boy, Damien, hooray!
Nice. Stefan
That's what I wanted to see.
10 to 9.
Oh, okay.
Hey, that's significant buff, man. That's renew range, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So maybe tactics.
Yay,
Nilfgaard.
Elder Bears.
make this as an opportunity to do some shenanigans between Damien and Stefan, right? That used to be quite a popular, strong deck. Hopefully it's not too much and it becomes oppressive and hateful, and Nilfgaard, anti Nilfgaard activists rise through the ranks and assault the CDP HQ. And finally, as you saw with things like Imperial Formation, we're trying to make the soldier archetype in Nilfgaard
Just
a little bit
remove
more
the
viable,
archetype from the
a little bit
spies.
stronger.
I don't know.
So in that spirit,
Flavor.
Vrinid is getting a provision buff from 7 to 6, and Vrygeth, I said that right. It's also getting a power buff from 3 to 4. So between the armor generating from
Honestly, well, the Vreem buff is fine. Fragif honestly feels like a bronze card the more I've played with it over the last
the
season.
Vrygeth.
This is pretty significant. This is like a better version of the all the other tag boosters. Assuming all your things have the same name. Yeah, the better Voimir. There we go. I don't know, a lot of different levels. But this one,
Right. It's also
I don't know, man. Last time I played decks with Ragef, he does not feel good to put in the deck. I mulliganed so many Ragefs in round 3. This would like kind of be cool as like a 6 provision bronze as a way to like go wide more in soldiers. But as a gold, it just doesn't feel right.
also getting a power buff from 3 to 4. So between the armor generating from
It's like something you get to do one
recent
time.
Buff to this, like,
Also
infantry,
feels like something you're probably able to do more than once.
getting a buff. Will it be enough to make Nilfgaard's army able to assault the fortresses of the north effectively again? Time will tell.
Time will tell.
But they definitely are a bit closer than they were before this.
Yeah, I like that we're making soldiers.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards that don't really work with it.
Yeah. So, I think that's the highlights for
That's the
Nilfgaard. Again,
highlights.
we're not going through everything.
Direberg get changed.
These are
Yeah,
ones
it
that
has
I
a
felt
Berserk
really like,
7 to no longer block
Gotta check 'em
yourself
out.
from boosting.
And we have Syndicate left. That's all. Also a couple cards to highlight here. A little bit more than the Nilfgaard. But yeah, I think we should just
Alright.
get right
Let's
into
start with the Borsodi brothers.
it. The Borsodi brothers.
Force now has a fee 1, give an allied unit vitality 1, and Evolve now.
I
has
guess you
fee
can't
1,
make it a
give an unit
bronze, because then you could
free
like
1.
put Ragef next to Ragef.
I think having some way to spend on these cards,
Just like other than Ragef
is
though. Yeah, I don't know.
making them infinitely more interesting than they were
Pretty
before.
well in a
right? 'Cause they
tactics
still
deck
have
with
that
Vanilla
coin
Elites.
dynamic, right? This
Does
is an
it?
addition.
It
to
seems
what they're
really
currently doing.
situational.
So, the coins that they generate now have a chance of being spent.
These are kind of cool. If you're in the market for a gold spender, it's just Syndicate decks tend to want to play as few spenders as they can because it's so much more. You just get better rate on the profit cards, and you only need one spender. Playing the low opportunity stuff like Sea Jackal is just kind of hard to get away from. I do like the change though. It makes the cards a consideration if for some reason you do want to play gold spenders. The numbers are just fine too, right? You're just like adding utility. Like this thing, if you have the Ewold plays as a 10 for 7. What does a
They still
Ewold
have
do?
that coin dynamic, right? This is
Ewold plays as a 9 if Horst is gone. Gives you a round 1 spender too. I don't know what would want to play these,
in
but
addition to what they're currently doing.
it's a cool
So,
change.
The coins that they generate now have a chance of being spent. So
Mhm.
the spenders are always valuable in Syndicate, yeah, and having gold flexible spenders is not bad.
Yeah,
Not
pretty good.
Next up is Cleaver, which maybe now in retrospect should have been in the leader card changes from earlier. But here he is in
I
Syndicate.
like those.
He's losing his 2 armor. He's too good.
I like
And
this.
tunnel drill tearing shit up. We decided to remove his 2 armor, so he's a bit easier to deal with.
Exactly. Easier
And
to
kind
deal
of talking about that deck, which has been
The
performing
2
very
armor was
strongly.
nonsense. Of all the things that they
I think
could change on Cleaver, this is the one that contributes the least to him being the glue that holds together the Crown Splitter archetype, while also just being like obnoxious for no reason. Like Cleaver coming down out of most removal range was kind of silly. But like he's still an Intimidate unit that gives you a Crown Splitter pocket, that gives you a spender in your deck that is kind of short on spenders, while also making a crime and proccing your Intimidate. Like, he still does everything that this deck wants to do. Which is good. Like, that's the cool part about the design. But, like, this armor was nonsense.
Safecracker is too good of a card. Like,
Oh.
between the amount of value it'll get from its deploy to the additional value it gets from its Intimidate, it's too much.
I mean,
for the card itself.
Fine. This will still deploy as like a 9 most of the time, right? 9, 10. It's deserved. It feels too similar to all the ones in the other factions. I don't like that. I feel like Halfling Safecracker having Intimidate made it feel distinct from this sort of similar card in every faction.
Whole other level to other factions' tools. So we've decided to
Safely Halfcracker, yeah, my bad.
In consequence, buff its power, its base power from 3 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think significant nerfs to the.
I mean, you can say it deserved the nerf, but I don't know if I'd like nerfing it in that way. In a way that takes away part of its identity.
It's not so dramatic, in my opinion. I think it still might be a quite viable strategy.
2 more.
Keeper of the Flame works just like before, so he boosts adjacent units, and if you pay 4 tribute, it's all units on the row, except the first time a cleric synergy is being added to a card, where the tribute cost is decreased by 1 for every allied cleric.
Interesting.
It's just an interesting use of I think the cleric tag that wasn't used before, and I was like, interesting. I wonder if this will make
I like it.
Eternal Fire, Flaming Rose decks and Syndicate more viable, and I believe there's a few other minor ones that we're not going to go through today that giving you a little bit of love to that archetype.
Yeah.
3 playable bronze clerics and Helvede. So Cleric of the Flaming Rose is good. Okay. Cleric and Helvede. It's like Chimera, but worse. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Chimera is a pretty good card.
And the final one I wanted to highlight because I think it's so important when we fix these mistakes. Believe it or not, Salamandra Mage
is finally a mage.
It's like we're
never see the day.
Every other update, we have to find a tag that we have to put in for lore reasons. That we're like, why wasn't that always there?
What is a cleric? Is it?
The world is right again for now until we find the next one.
There's a lot of clerics to the tokens. That would be big.
I'm going to take a break from talking for a second as you recap the next section.
Exactly. So, like we mentioned numerous times, these are only some of the changes. There are roughly 30 more balance changes left to discover with the patches. We'll have patch notes coming out day before the patch. So get ready for those. And speaking of something that we started off with, Journey. So this is your last chance to get Yennefer's Journey. So don't sleep on that because I know there are a lot of you always asking like, what about the previous
Horsen
Journey?
or
I missed it. So don't miss it.
Probably Foltest more than Horsen.
Premium Journey is always available. It's never too late. Exactly. And
Ball is obviously big.
In the beginning, with 10.5, we'll be having a new Journey coming,
but just in a different way.
Super nice, beautiful face. Okay, I'm not spoiling anything more here.
You're so naughty.
So details coming soon. We might be teasing it a little bit just before the update launches. So like we did with Yennefer. So get ready for that because I'm already excited for it. And of course, we will have an awesome trailer, which I'm super happy to show everybody because we've been working on with the video team. And yeah, I'm not saying anything more because I will for sure spoil it.
I think one thing that might be worth mentioning is the formula for this journey will be essentially identical.
Which new stratagem do I want to try the most? It's hard for me to get excited about stratagems. Because like you only get to play with them in half the games. You're not like building a deck around the idea of having access to the stratagem. It's just like something you incidentally have when you own Bitcoin.
We've talked about our new expansion strategy, right? So we wanted to take this opportunity to talk a bit about more what's coming.
Yes.
And maybe clarify some things in some terms.
Operator gets -1p. That's cool.
At the beginning,
I like Operator's a card. More excuses to play Operator decks is cool.
I can say it's not June 1st. Okay, so
okay, we good there?
We good? There will be new cards coming to Gwent around, I believe, 26, and they will come packaged as an expansion, a 26 card expansion. Well, these 26 cards are going to get their own launch trailer telling a little story about these specific sets of cards. and we'll have a whole teasing campaign for it. It'll have its own name, its own branding, but
Like
it will be a
the Smite
subtitle
operator deck.
to a bigger branding
Maybe.
of a cohesive set of cards that the next 3 expansions will build into one. And if we can reveal the logo now, the next set of cards in Gwent is
Price of Power.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Who said that?
Finally.
That's right. We're revealing the name of the next card set to bring into Gwent. This set will be built
It's
in the
poppin'.
releasing of 3 expansions that will have their own reveal campaigns, their own cinematic little intro trailer like we did in the past, and all that good stuff. And we kind of wanted to introduce that now. In the coming weeks, we'll start proper reveal hype campaign for this first expansion. Yes. Hype Week season is coming, and we'll be trying on a whole new way of distributing these cards and a whole new set of products that we're really excited about. We think it's a much improved format for getting this content.
Yeah, we'll actually make an explainer video just to explain how you can obtain these things.
It's so different that we felt the need that we're working on an explainer video for the way all this will work. What I can say is, each expansion will, have its own tiny little micro story that fits
Now
the
they
theme
haven't
of
talked about
Price
the
of
journey
Power.
yet.
The theme of Price of Power is magic.
Magic.
And you know what? Magic comes at a price, my friend. Magic may be powerful, but it comes at a price.
Nice.
It's
Well
the
put
price
together,
of
Jason. Well
power,
put together.
I might say.
So, the first expansion of Price of Power might focus, let's say, a bit more on Syndicate, and the second expansion for Price of Power might focus a bit more on Northern Realms in terms of storytelling. But in all 3 drops, there'll be the same number of every faction's cards, and let's say the Syndicate theme revealed in the first expansion will be just continued in the second and the third expansion, right? But it allows us to really explore the themes of an expansion, with 3 events instead of 1, which I think I'm really excited about, and there's really cool stuff that we can do around that. And so I cannot wait for this to begin. There's such cool, interesting stuff coming, guys. Woo!
I'm happy that we already started because it's like lifting like this big thing off your chest because you're just waiting when can we do it, and finally we can do it. So yeah.
And some of the balance changes that we're even doing that we were talking about today are in preparation for some of the things that are coming with even the first drop. So really, really cool stuff, guys. I hope we don't disappoint, but the hype is real in here.
Yep.
Wait, which side is my heart on?
You can
There?
hear it like beating.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's all I wanted to say kind of about Price of Powers or something. You
Cool.
wanted to
No, I'm just hyped that we can actually do it, and I just want to, reflect what you said. We'll have a full campaign for it, landing page also, whole reveal campaign, trailers.
Syndicate's
We
dead.
want to do teasers and stuff like that. We want to do like a full-fledged thing too, because, like you said, what we like is we like to tell a story, and we like to tie everything to an overall theme because it adds flavor, and we love flavor, we love lore. So yeah, I'm just excited. I'm just excited that we're doing it, and I remember that in the beginning I was kind of thinking,
That I
like,
don't
how
think
is it going to
so.
be with these 26 card expansions?
I don't
But now
see
I'm just
Pirate
seeing that,
Cove doing
the
anything.
momentum, and now, even looking at this,
We're really
update,
pushing ourselves,
yeah,
aren't we?
we're pushing ourselves, and
Best
it's-
card.
There's a lot of
The,
stuff
the
going on in the
Volta
game,
stuff
and
is
I
really
think
big.
that speaks for itself, right? So I'm just excited for it.
Me too. So enjoy with 8.5 all of these balance changes. Enjoy,
Fever dies to an on-crate long
new
ship.
journey character.
Oh,
coming
that's
out from
true.
the
That is
team,
funny.
some
I didn't
fan
consider
favorite.
that.
Then 1 month later, enjoy all these new cards, and then enjoy the new Northern Realm stuff, maybe,
So-
or the balance patch comes up. And then enjoy
Yeah,
even more cards.
yikes.
The cycle is beginning, and I'm positively excited.
Exactly,
Can't
me
wait.
too, man.
I can't wait to see how it all comes together, and hopefully it doesn't just micro explode in our face. Like, what did we
Triple
do?
Meave.
We went too
I feel like they didn't solve any of
You
Meave's actual
went too
problems.
far. That's what I like to say.
We went too far. All right, man.
Awesome. Jason, thank you. Won't be taking more of the time. And yeah, good luck to the finalists because the
Good
finals are
luck,
coming
guys.
up shortly. Jason, let's sign off.
Pleasure as always.
Pleasure as always. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
See y'all.
Peace.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to see.
Okay, so
Okay, I'm gonna leave this freeze frame here for a second. I need to take a quick restroom break. I'll be back in like 2 minutes.